Today, we are going to look at 3 areas that paralyze your growth. You will definitely want to sit down and take a listen. Come join us.
Welcome to the Behind Her Brand podcast with your host, Kimberly Spencer. Every week, join Kimberly and her guest for inspiring interviews with passionate business builders, corporate leaders, and catalysts of change. Plus, we will be sharing business and career building strategies and tools that you can use to grow. So let's dive into today's episode.
Hey everyone, and welcome back to another Behind Her Brand podcast. I am your host, Kimberly DeShields-Spencer, and I am always very grateful that you're joining me today. Today, we're going to talk about a subject that isn't necessarily about marketing and branding, but it is about becoming a more effective, a more productive, and even a more mindful type of businesswoman. I have found in my time in working with the different clients I have over the years that there's 3 reoccurring things that tend to pop up whenever someone's trying to launch, either as a business, launch a service, launch a new offering. And then on the other side of that, sometimes when we're trying to scale, go to that next level, these 3 things sometimes can occur. Now, does it occur with every person? No, I'm not saying that. But there are times where these 3 area, cannot talk right now, these 3 areas do pop up, and it's important to be mindful of them because you don't want to be paralyzed in your growth. You don't want anything to hinder you from where you're trying to go. So the first thing that I want to cover is, this is a big one. I'm a big believer that you should always do your homework. Okay. I believe that wholeheartedly. However, what can paralyze you from really growing is if you do too much research, too much info. I have found sometimes when I'm reaching out to someone who says, man, I can't wait to get started on this or that. And I'm going to research and I'm going to look at podcasts. I'm going to look at all these different books. I'm going to go to all these different events. And they're piling on so much, the best way I can describe it, so much importance on all this information they feel like they need to know. And what that tells me oftentimes is whenever you're trying to get too much information, it can paralyze you from moving forward because you're going to be listening to so many different respective sources and listening to so many different ways of doing something that you're going to be sitting there wondering, so how do I move forward? What exactly am I supposed to do? And it becomes like a downward spiral in many ways. When you first start with that, feeling like, okay, I'm reading this, I'm listening to this. It seems like there's so many different ways. I'm not sure where to start. And then it's like, well, is this the right time to start? Is this the best season of my life to do this? I got this going on, that going on. And so all these other things starts coming up. And then you find that it's 5 months. It's a year. It's a couple of years. And you never got started because you're still in research phase. Again, I understand the importance of getting information. But just be mindful of how much information that you're getting, because sometimes too much information can even stifle your own creativity because you're trying to make sure that you start and do and create and build and do all these different things, scale the right way, that sometimes it hinders your own natural creativity, your own natural way of looking at the solutions that you want to offer to your audience. So be very mindful about that. So how do you kind of get around this? Again, yes, get your information, but be very clear with yourself. What exactly do you need to know? If it's, okay, well, I need to get started. Okay, well, before you get to that question, write down what is it you want to build. And this doesn't matter if you're a new entrepreneur or a very seasoned. No matter what stage of growth that you're in or what stage of season that you're in when it comes to being a businesswoman, the reality is still the same. You always have to go back to being very clear about what it is you're trying to build and really think that through. Make sure that what you're trying to build is marketable. Is it really meeting a need in the community that you want to serve? Is it something that can be profitable? Like, be very clear about some of those pieces before you look into, okay, now how do I get started? Once you're clear about those pieces, then you can look at the steps to getting started. I would suggest talking to no more than 2 sources or looking at no more than 2 sources. And be very specific about what you're looking at from them. Often, if you go to someone you really respect, you can look at all their information or listen to all their information or read all the books. You don't want to do that. Pick whatever resource they have that will get you to that next step only. And then once you get to that next step, determine, okay, what do I need to know? I am so sorry. I feel like my tongue tied today. But what do you need to know at this point to go to that next step? So take it step by step by step versus trying to fire hose yourself with so much information, so much research, because it can literally paralyze you from moving forward. The second thing is over analyzing. This is for my overthinkers, okay? People who think so much about everything. I do believe in being very clear, obviously, about the approach, the direction, how you want to build, and all those things. But what you don't want to do is overanalyze and think of too many of the what ifs when you're building. Because the reality of it is, so much of what you need to know will only come through experience. I can sit here and tell you, here are the pitfalls of X, Y, and Z, but you may not really know what those pitfalls will feel like and how that will show up for you if you don't experience the building. You don't experience trying something and seeing if it works or it doesn't work, or seeing that, okay, you know what? I thought this would be the best marketing approach. I thought this would be a really awesome program to launch. Didn't quite land the way I wanted to land. Okay, so what do I need to do now? That's the best way to really analyze and to really be clear about what it is that you need to do. If you're trying to assess risk of launching, building, growing way before you even get started, and trying to make sure that you don't hit any pockets of failure, I promise you, you can plan, and you will still have to address the ups and downs of whatever it is you're putting out there. So I want to encourage you. It's okay to think about, okay, if I do this, if it doesn't work, what's the next plan? It's okay to think along those lines, but really and truly challenge yourself not to go so deep into overanalyzing the launch, the steps. What are people going to think? Is this really right? Is this da da da? Because it will paralyze you as well. I've seen it happen too many times where people are afraid to push start or push go or push launch, whatever it might be, because they're thinking about too much, or they're hearing about so much of, okay, well, this person did something similar and man, they bombed. And all of that is still over information, and all of that is over analyzing. Sometimes you just have to take that faith step and say, you know what? I'm going to launch. I'm going to invest. I'm going to put this out there, and I'm going to measure each step as it comes to me. I'm not going to overanalyze. I'm not going to overthink this. I'm not going to look at every contingency plan. I'm going to work what's in front of me and then work what's next in front of me and take it step by step. The third area that I say to be very mindful of is who you're surrounding yourself with. If you find that you're surrounding yourself with more starters and not doers, people who start on many things, but they don't complete many things, I'm going to challenge you to find people that are starters and doers and action takers. I am not going to tell you to eliminate people in your life who may be more starters and they don't really complete very much. I would never tell you to eliminate anyone in your life. That's a personal decision. But what I will tell you is that when you're building and growing, it's very important who you surround yourself around. What kind of conversations are you having with people? I can tell you from personal experience, I absolutely love being around women in my personal life that are equally wives, mothers, and we're also business owners, and we're growing and we're pushing through, and we have the ups and we have the downs, we have the tears, we have the happiness, we have the victories, we have the losses. Like people that I can grow with, who can understand the journey of being a businesswoman while also being all the other roles that I play. And it has helped me to be able to continue on my path. If you look around your circle and you realize, okay, this person always starts stuff, but they never quite seem to get through it, then how are you going to be able to go to that person and share with them about you pushing through and growing? Now, can you influence them and encourage them? Absolutely. But it's still very vital that you have people who are also walking the same path that you're walking. And I will say this, because we hear all the amazing quotes, you're the sum total of five people around you and all that good stuff. And while I believe some aspects of that, what I believe the most is that when you want to be in a place of real growth, if you really want to see what's in your head show up in reality, it helps to walk with someone who is doing the exact same thing, because you want to be able to have those real conversations, because building, growing, and establishing yourself, regardless of whatever stage you're in, it's not for the faint of heart. It is not easy. It is not always fun. There's a lot of work that goes into building. It's a lot of stretching that goes into building. So you want to be able to text someone, pick up the phone and say, hey man, I'm having a rough time right now. Can I talk it out with you? And they can relate to what it is that you're going through. So that's why I encourage you to make sure that you have some starters, but also people who are also action takers. They've completed things, they're building. Having those people around you is invaluable. So just to recap real quick, is you want to make sure you're not overly researching, overly absorbing information, because again, that can paralyze you from even getting started. You also want to make sure you're not over analyzing every single crumb of everything, because again, that can paralyze you from moving forward. And again, I just mentioned about the people that are around you. So I will close with this bit of encouragement. Building, regardless again what stage you're in, is never going to be easy. But one of the things that you must be is very honest with yourself. If you find yourself overly researching, overly trying to get information, ask yourself, are you not trusting your own skills and abilities? Are you not trusting that what you have in front of you is a really good product or business or service or offering? Are you not giving yourself the benefit of the doubt that you don't need all this stuff around you? You just need to make that first step. And that first step may be launching the website. It may be posting and letting people know, okay, guys, in 60 days, I'm about to do something pretty huge. It may be investing in someone to help you grow. It may be all these different things, but ask yourself those clarifying questions, because if you're overly researching, if you're overly doing anything, overly analyzing, oftentimes that's more of, I would say, the outer symptom and not the real root. So get to the root of it, because oftentimes we can overcomplicate. We can make things harder than what it needs to be. All you need to do is make that one step and then make the next step. And if you say, well, I don't know what the first step is, remember what I said earlier. Determine what you need to know in that moment, not the list of things that you feel like you need. What's the first thing you feel like you need to know in that moment? If it's, okay, well, I don't even know where to get started on a website. Do I use this platform, that platform, or whatever? Research, period. Determine after you research the next thing on your list. Like, take it step by step by step. Okay. So those are the 3 areas that I want you to be mindful of. I hope that you enjoy this podcast. I hope that it was helpful in some ways. And if you find yourself even hitting one of these areas, I hope the tips that we'll share with you give you something to chew on and to think about and to assess how you can move forward and not get caught up in overanalyzing, looking at too much information and not moving forward. Okay. You do not want to be in a place where your feet are like in sinking sand or in mud, one or the other, where you're sinking into too much information and not moving, or whether you feel stuck because you feel paralyzed by it's a feeling that you don't know enough, that you're not capable enough. You don't have enough experience. Who's going to listen to me? Who's going to really look at this? Those things are the root that you have to pull up. Because if you don't pull them up, you're going to find yourself stuck in trying to overly educate yourself in things that you may naturally just have a true gift in, that you don't need to do all the extra stuff around it. All right. So I hope that you have an amazing day. And I would love to invite you to visit us on Instagram at Behind Her Brand, or on our Facebook page at Behind Her Brand. And, I don't often share this on our podcast, but I would love to also invite you that if you've never received one of our issues of our magazine, or even if you're interested in being part of a community of women that are not starters, they're doers, they're action takers, they're making things happen, I would love to invite you to our website, www.behindherbrand.net, to learn more about our Behind Her Brand community. All right. You have a great day, and talk to you soon.